So thanks for joining. This is basically cutouts inspired by Matisse. So a little bit about Henri Matisse. He was a prominent French artist known for his use of color and also for his fluid movements. He was a draftsman, a printmaker, sculptor. He was primarily known as a painter. Later in his life, the last decade of his life, actually, he ended up using cutouts as his method. I'm going to share more about him and some of the quotes that he's mentioned. But in essence, the intense colors that he used gave him some notoriety, and also he was viewed as a radical artist at the time, and still is viewed that way. And he was known as one of the fauves, i.e. wild beast, they said. But that really is in essence to a couple of things. One is his use of color being so radical, and use of a lot of primary colors. So you'll see a lot of bold colors that he's using. And then he uses them in ways that are surprising, that might be different from what we naturally think the colors may be. So that's partially why he was called a fauve, or followed fauvism. And then his use of color was a way for him to express emotions. And he was talking a lot about how cutouts can allow us to, in essence, lose our control at the moment, and that enables us to be more free, and then produce like these intense, simplistic forms that bring a lot of meaning and expression and emotion from each of us. So after 1930, he adopted this like more simplified, bold method, and he ended up having surgery, intestinal surgery. So he was bound to the wheelchair many years towards the last years of his life. And so with that impediment, that also enabled him to use more of the cutout method. But even prior to that, being bound to the wheelchair, he used cutouts because it was a rapid way for him to compose his paintings. So by using cutouts, he can like quickly pull some shapes together and then put them on a page or on a canvas, move them around, look at the composition or the entire picture, and then be able to play in essence with what he was going to paint. And painting itself took a lot more time than these cutouts. And so he ended up just utilizing a lot of the cutouts as his primary method toward near the end of his life. Let me go to the next slide. This is another example of his cutouts. It's called the Blue Nude #3. As you can see, this is just one color, a shade of blue, if you will. He ended up using both like one piece of paper to make his cutout, but he also used multiple pieces of paper. So as you can see, first of all, there's a good balance of positive and negative space. And what I mean by that is the blue space that takes up the actual work itself is balanced with the negative space that doesn't, the white space here. And then as you can see, he used different pieces of blue paper for different body areas, so such as the thigh and leg here. And then, for example, you can see like a triangle here, which made up the leg behind this one. And he really wanted us to like not think about being exact with our cutting with scissors, but instead think about it in abstract or simplification. It's not about perfectionism. It's more about how you feel and what it conveys. So he was really able to convey the beauty of the female form through the use of cutouts and in a relaxed pose. Here are some quotes Matisse shared. He said, "My choice is based on observation, on feeling, on experience, and on my own sensitivity. I simply try to put on colors that will give a certain feeling." For me, expression does not reside in passion, which breaks out on a face or indicated by a violent gesture. It's in the whole arrangement of the picture, the place occupied by the body, the empty spaces around it, the proportions, they all have their part. Composition is the art of arranging in a decorative manner the various elements which express the painter's feelings and ideas. So a little bit about his thought process. So this is an example of his swimming pool, and I'll show you a picture of it depicted in his studio. But basically, if you can just focus on the blue shapes, he went to a swimming pool and he was not impressed with the visualization of it in real life. So he's like, you know what, I'm going to create a swimming pool in my studio or in my bedroom. And so as you can see here, it's like he's depicting like water splashing, somebody doing like a breaststroke, somebody diving into the pool, somebody doing like a reverse belly flop, I guess. So there's a lot of movement here, and it's so amazing that he was able to depict this movement in such a simple form. Now here's the swimming pool itself in his studio, which was called the Hotel Regina in Nice, France, which I aspire to go to one day. Let's go, Linda.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. And as you can see, the swimming pool is pretty big. So he ended up creating larger and larger cutouts throughout the later years of his life. And then you get a depiction of some of his other works here too, like some other forms like apples, and then like organic matter, dance. You can see here like a pose, a dancer posing, twisting backwards or, falling backwards sort of. So it's just so fascinating to see how he was able to oops, I pressed on the wrong button, apologies. How he was able to depict movement. Oh, why does it keep doing that? Sorry. You know why? It's because I have it linked. Here is his other studio picture, so another studio picture. So what you can see here is like he was able to make things like flowers using like multiples of the same shape. He even used as simple as like little boxes, and he cluttered them together in a certain way. And that's what you see partially here. That's called the snail that he did in 1953. And that's actually available at the Tate Museum in the UK. Maybe Linda and Carolyn saw that when they were there years ago. Anyways, this flower depiction here, he uses like a triangular shape, and then he makes like little curves at the end and puts together like 5 to 7 of them. So that's something you can explore. Also, he used the negative space, so like the remnants of cutouts, like the outlines of cutouts, as also part of the picture, and that's what you're seeing here. I did that again. So here's his studio, and I was mentioning how large his cutouts had become. As you can see, some of the seaweed or coral that objects that he used, they're really big in proportion. And what I would suggest is if we have time to get to the collage part of this class, then what we can do is affix our cutouts to like poster board if you have that available. If not, I was gonna say, if it's allowable, you might want to decorate your own room or like an area, a hallway or something, with how you feel and with your cutouts, and just be inspired by what Matisse did. All right, so you guys ready to start our cutout?
Let's do it.
Yay. So I am assuming everyone has scissors. And what I'm going to do is I'm also going to follow along here. My screen here, I show you some samples of cutouts, but I'm also going to be doing cutouts with you. Remember, there's no right or wrong way. And because this is such a rapid method, you can end up doing a cutout in like a minute or two. And if you feel like it, iterate on it, do more, like do it again. Like there's no right or wrong. And it's really about how you want to express this. So I'm using Matisse's early work around cutouts on as our first example. It's like a simpler one. Oh, whoops, I just knocked my screen. So I'll be doing that down here on my other screen, but feel free to not look at my screen, not look at how I'm doing it, and just do it. So it's really about your own expression. And so I'm assuming that you guys have either regular paper or magazine paper. So I'm showing you a sheet of paper that I painted, and I have different colors. So it doesn't have to be the exact same color as you see here. And one other thing that I want to mention to you on his method. So I have my scissors here, as you can see. He ended up using the lower part of his scissors more than the pointed part, and he ended up you know, holding the paper up like in front of his face and then cutting into the paper. So let me give you guys some tips on that. What he said was basically draw with your scissors, cut straight out of color without hesitation. So feel confident. Don't worry about being perfect with it. Just look at the outline of what you see here. It might be like a plant or a leaf or a seaweed, and just kind of follow the outline of it, like as if you're tracing the paper of the shape that you see, and do it without hesitation, he says. All right, so I'm gonna start cutting as well. So I'm gonna give everybody like 2 to 3 minutes. We'll see how where everyone is after that. And I'm just kind of looking at the shape. I'm starting at the bottom. You can start wherever you're comfortable. And I'm just using the bottom side of my scissors, not necessarily the tips. And he did it very quickly. So it was just really harnessing that essence of what you see and how that makes you feel. And that will come through in your cutout. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. This is just an inspiration.
Sorry if you cover this, but you don't draw it first.
No. Okay. And I think that's what's so special about this method, is that because you don't draw it first, you're cutting into the color. He's saying that actually brings out its own like simple beauty of the method. So it's like he's saying that he said that once you let go of that control, it becomes a more confident, bolder piece, is what he said. And he said, enjoy the process. Once you start just cutting into the paper, you'll feel so refreshed. And the beauty of this is, it's okay if you feel like you messed up. You just start with a new piece of paper and no worries. And it could be multiple pieces of paper for this, or just one piece. I'm using one piece of paper for it, but you can end up using multiple if you want. And as you can see, the top portion of this seaweed plant has kind of like a heart shape to it. So I'm just kind of cutting that. And then I'm following like the curved lines. It looks like it's going out and then coming back in, narrowing in at the bottom.
Like almost the scissors is our medium, like our paintbrush or pencil.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. He said it's like drawing with scissors is what he said. So your scissors are your pencil. And do it fast, he said. Because if you think about it too much, then it's like too much control, and you want to leverage, you know, the essence of your creativity, your emotion that comes through.
Yes, no, easy.
So there's like 4 leaves here, and I'm on my 4th one, but you know, take your time if you need it, especially. No right or wrong though, really. And then we're gonna do a bunch of these, and at the end, hopefully we have some time for you guys to start your collages. And he also kept the paper he cut out of. So sometimes he ended up using that as the main focus, not necessarily the actual thing. So you might want to keep your the remaining paper as well. Yay, Adele, I love it. Is that magazine paper?
Yeah, I found one that was pretty plain.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So a little side note, I've been buying vintage magazines on eBay for this.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, like architecture magazines, like, because you know they seem to have like interesting shapes and patterns, and I've been experimenting with them.
Cool.
Yeah, so you can use, you know, painted paper, magazine paper. Here's an example of like a magazine paper cutout. But yeah, it's so fascinating. I love your shape, Adele. Like everyone's cutout is different, and that's what's like so like beautiful about this process, I think.
It's very difficult to make those like curvy shapes or angles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh wow, Fiji, I love yours. Orange too. That's amazing. Oh my gosh, I love it. Good job.
Is that Shay? No, it's not Shay, is it?
Nah, it can't be Shay. It is Shay Bizou. Oh my gosh, I love it. It is Shay. Bizou, Shay. You guys haven't seen each other in so long. Oh, Linda. Oh my gosh, 2 thumbs up. Beautiful.
You want to show the pairs?
Oh my God, Shay.
This is a pill. We colored the paper to make it look like colored paper.
That's amazing. Good job. Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you guys ready to move on to the next cutout?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And just before I do that, I wanted to show you guys what the negative space, meaning like the remnant, might look like if we were to use that. You see how on my yellow base paper, the page that I cut out also makes a shape into the paper? I know it's a little close, but so keep your remnants because you might be able to use them as part of your collage. All right, so
So pretty.
so here's another example of Matisse's work. It's called The Parakeet and the Mermaid. So you saw a little bit of it in the prior photo with Matisse with his assistant. So what's amazing about this is that it's huge. So could you imagine if you did like huge seaweed pieces all over the bedroom or something, like different colors? Like you can make your own aquarium, your zoo, you can make your own circus. and like just use like masking tape or like double-sided tape and like just put them on the wall and stuff. I hope I'm not pissing parents off by saying that, but I think, you know, it's something that we can play with potentially, right? And if it's tape, you know, up to you guys if you might want to explore that. But yeah, Matisse did this for his own joy, especially because he was so bound to his wheelchair in the later years.
Is it paraplegic?
No, he had intestinal surgery, and then I guess there were like some side effects from that. So he couldn't really walk and stand.
Oh.
And so that's why he ended up like doing like the swimming pool in the studio, doing something like this at gigantic scale in his studio. All right, guys, we're going to do our own version of our own seaweed, which I think would be amazing. So my ask of you is to pick one or more of these, and in the next few minutes, just try to, you know, complete at least one doing a cutout. So some helpful hints for you. Once you pick one, so for example, if I picked this lower left one, don't worry about the dots and all the shading and all that. Just pick a piece of paper and just follow the outline with your eyeball with the bottom part of your scissors.
Wow.
So as you can see, you're using your scissors to essentially kind of like trace it into the paper without having to trace it. You're kind of doing free form. And once you get used to cutting this way, it's gonna feel so refreshing. Like, just cut away and don't worry about it. All right, I'm gonna do this one. And then subsequently what you can do is use different colored paper. And then when you get to the collage time, what you can do is like affix like darker tones, like darker circles on top of it using different shapes, like triangles, circles, ovals. Or you can even end up, you know, painting on top of your cutouts too. It's really up to you how you want to decorate or adorn stuff. Or you can keep it as simple as one color, like Matisse did with a lot of his work. But he also ended up using stuff on top of it too. So we'll see some of that shortly.
So do you fold paper when you cut, or you just keep cutting?
You just keep cutting and you turn the paper around. So you can see my face, right? So like let me show you. So like there's probably like 1 or 2 YouTube videos out there of Matisse cutting. He holds the paper upright in front of his face like this. He has the scissors and he just cuts it, and he lets the paper turn as you need to. Not necessarily like the scissors, if that makes sense. So like you kind of like turn the paper.
Got it. Okay, let's try.
What
Wow.
I like to do is I like talk to myself about it. I'm like, oh, that's going in, that's going out, that's curving around. And then yeah. And then sometimes I don't capture the whole thing. I might capture most of it, which is fine too. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. There's no notion of perfect here.
Wow.
And then, you know, any white space that you feel like you can't cut properly, you can, to your question before, Bizu, you can fold the paper a little bit and then cut out little white pieces into it, if that helps. Or after you do the main cutout, you can like fold little parts of it to like cut into it. like, so for example, like if you have a space between two leaves and you can't really do it while doing the main part, you can do it, you know, after you get through the most of the shape, and then fold that little portion and then cut like a sliver of, you know, of white, the white space out of it.
Okay. Okay.
Push through the discomfort. You got this. Oh,
Thanksgiving turkey that got really messed up, you know?
that's so cute. Yeah, this is like a illustration from a woman who studied seaweed. So everyone's going to get a PDF. If I have your email address, you'll get a PDF of this with all the links to these illustrations and stuff. After, yeah. There's a lot of leaves on the one that I'm working on. I'm like, ah. How are we doing? Let me know if you guys are ready to move on or need more time.
Oh my gosh, crazy.
Yeah, share what you guys are feeling. It's not an exact science by any means.
Hmm. Wow.
So as you finish this cutout, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Matisse and his theories around this. So we're going to end up doing a bunch of cutouts, and then towards the end, you guys should be able to get started on your collages and then finish them in your own time. And when we get to that, he talks a lot about composition, like how this enables you, the cutouts enable you to basically play around with the placement of them on wherever you're going to be affixing your cutouts with like glue or tape. And then he said, when you're looking at your composition, make sure it tells the story that you want it to tell and that it's harmonious. And that there's no leftovers. So it was like the paper that's left over, you can use as part of your collage as well, if you so choose.
Very green.
And yeah, he really emphasized the emotional meaning of this stuff. Like, you know, you don't have to make it look exactly like a tree. You don't have to use like brown for the bark. You can use whatever color that you feel like using. And then there's like an inherent flatness with using cutouts. Like it just looks very flat. It almost looks like graphic art before graphic art was available. And he emphasized reducing the form to their essentials. So that in of itself, you know, has that innate appeal to it. And the ability for us to celebrate form and beauty. So we're gonna be moving on pretty soon to actual human movement and photos as well that we're gonna use as cutouts, because he did a lot of that. And he talked a lot about like stripping down to the basics. This method enables you to use color to strip down to the essence, the shape of the beauty of the form. Yeah, and he talks a lot about the freedom related to this method. Yeah, once I started cutting out, I realized like I look at paintings even in a different way. Like, you know, like a Van Gogh or a Monet, I look at it like almost like a cutout. Like if I did a cutout of Van Gogh sunflowers, like what would that look like? Wouldn't that be amazing?
Well, you mentioned the negative and positive space, and I haven't heard that in a long time, but that definitely just made me look at it just differently.
Yeah, yeah. And his impediment being bound in the wheelchair, it almost essentially enabled him to use this method more. And to me, it resonated with the design thinking aspect of things, because it's like, you know, with design thinking, we look at like the least adopters, or like the worst case scenario or best case scenario, like the tech adopters. And so when you look at those extremes, in essence, potential accessibility issues, impediment issues, and you look how people act or how people live their lives, it's like you learn from those methods or workarounds. So in essence, I feel like this art is akin to design thinking, or maybe I'm just trying to justify that because it ties into, I think, the work that like we do on a day-to-day basis in the digital world. So I'm trying to make sense of it in that way. All right, I'm gonna go to the next slide. And of course, you could always come back to this later since I'll be sending out the deck. So this is another example of Matisse's work. Now this one is a collage of his work. So prior to this, you saw, you know, like one seaweed on a background. So this is a collage of his. As you can see, there's like a bunch of like seaweed plants. And then there's, in essence, this like curly curl, like maybe it's a snail. Maybe it's the universe. We don't know. It's up to you how you want to interpret it. He just named it that it's composition green background. And then he used almost like raw shapes for stars, it looked like. But that's how I'm interpreting it. Up to you how you guys want to interpret this. And then I think he used some of the negative space stuff here. It looks like it wasn't like he cut these out purposefully, but it's almost like he used the negative space elements here. So just some ideas for you as we work towards that collage. If anyone's interested in how to do this shape, I actually did it on my own, so I can go through that with you guys if you guys want to try it. And I'm showing it on my screen here. Can you see? No? How about now? Okay. Do you guys want to try this real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me guide you guys on how I did this. And up to you how you want to do it yourselves. But this is how I was able to do it, kind of akin to this Matisse collage. So you get like a piece of paper. I'm using like a negative piece from the prior one. And then first you cut like a circle or an oval. I think the easiest is a circle. So let's just cut a solid circle out. Actually, my circle's tiny, so I'm gonna use another piece of paper and make a bigger circle real quick. And the more perfect the circle, it seems easier to create the spiral, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be loosely a circle. So I have my little circle. All right, sorry. I'm trying to like figure out what's the best way to show you guys. 1 second. Okay, so I have my little circle. And then you're gonna start the spiral in one corner like this. So imagine you're just gonna cut a circle inside it, meaning like, I don't know if you can see my scissors, but so I'm like just up, leaving some space. Is that better, Linda?
I can't see it. Do you guys see it?
You can't see it?
Can you guys see it?
Oh, hold on.
I see it.
Hold on. Let me make that one the temporary spotlight.
Oh.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes?
Yeah.
So like I'm just cutting into the circle and making sure I don't cut through the entire thing, just cutting around it, inside of it, like a strip. Like you know what I mean? Like just follow the shape of the circle and you cut into it. So maybe it ends up being 1 or 2 spirals or 3 spirals. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah. You're not cutting stuff out. You're just peeling it almost.
Yeah. You're just cutting, you're not cutting stuff out yet. But then when you get to the very middle of the circle, you might want to cut out that little piece.
Okay.
Let me know if, do you want me to do it again real quick, if that's helpful?
I'm sorry.
Let me do it again in a bigger circle because I feel like that one was a small.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just getting a bigger circle ready. 1 second. Okay, so I have this bigger circle piece here. What I'm gonna do is just take one corner of it, of the circle, just cut into it, not cutting a piece out of it, just cutting into it. So like cutting a circle within a circle. And I keep going like you're making a long spaghetti. You're making a long spaghetti or apple peel in one long piece.
Mm-hmm.
Just cutting into the circle in a circular way. In one long piece of apple peel, essentially.
Ooh. Okay.
And then I keep cutting into it, around and around we go, until we come to the very middle of that circle. It gets smaller and smaller in the middle, and then you're at the very middle. And you see how once I collapse the circle, it's still its shape.
But there's no space in between.
Yeah.
So that's step 2, guys.
Okay.
So that was step 1. I want to make sure everybody's good with step 1.
Okay.
Are we good with step 1?
I think so.
Okay, so remember that very last piece in the middle of the circle?
Yeah.
Well, we'll cut that out first. Okay? And then we're going to go back to the corner that we started, and we're going to create that negative space by cutting that strip that you started in half. And in essence, you're splitting the spiral by following the same pattern again, around and around, but you're just cutting between where you started. In essence, You're creating that negative space.
I see. Okay.
And then when you're done, all the way done to the very center, and then you collapse the circle, you'll see the space between. And that becomes your snail or your universe.
Spaghetti.
Your spaghetti, your apple peel.
Now I can cut my hair today.
Yeah, I was thinking of the movie Edward Scissorhands after I started Cutouts.
I've been afraid of scissors so far.
I now have scissors by my side all day, no joke. Like I'm addicted now. It's like a form of knitting.
Wow.
Mm.
And it's more gratifying because it's so quick and it has a huge reward.
Okay, keep going.
Keep going. Till the end of the circle.
And then what do? We just cut it out from like.
You cut it out, and then you'll end up with 2 spirals, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
And then you can use either, both. So I now cut it. I cut the 2 out, and I'm like separating them.
Okay.
And then you can glue them. Remember, Matisse said there's nothing that is wasted, potentially. If you want to, you can use all of it.
Okay. Cool.
All right. I'm going to move on.
Okay.
All right. Now we're going to try something living before we move on to like dancers and swimmers and stuff.
Oh gosh.
I picked, don't worry, it'll be fine. Don't worry about the fur. Don't worry about the eyeballs right now. Just think about the shape that you see, and you're going to cut that big shape out of your paper. So think about where you want to start. Maybe the nose. So like maybe you start here and you cut up, and then you cut way up for your ear, and then a little triangular dip, and then, you know, cut around for the long ear, and then cut in a little bit. So I'll be doing it as well with you guys. I'm gonna give you like 2 minutes for this one.
Hey Sam, we need to run. But it's been quite fun.
Oh, good. Well, thanks for joining, Shay. Fiji, hope you had fun.
Okay. See you.
Bye.
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 I'm gonna start from the tail.
All right, I love it. Yeah. Sometimes, like, I read that if you use your weaker hand for things, like, you know, that loss of control actually makes you more creative. So you can even start from the tail, like Bizu's doing, or start from a place that you would not expect and see what comes out. Or even turn your photo or picture upside down and then just cut it in that way, because it untrains your eye of what you think it should be, which is more complicated. If you do like look at it from a refreshing way and try it.
Wow.
I think I'll start from the lower right paw.
This is hard.
Well, try not to
Think
put
about
pressure on yourself.
yeah.
There's no right or wrong.
Well, there is in this case, you're not gonna have the rabbits.
But that's the beauty of it, Bizu.
Okay.
I want to see what comes out. Maybe it's a magical rabbit. Maybe it's the rabbit you're going to follow into the rabbit hole like Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
Oh man, these ears take up a lot of space, more than I assumed.
I haven't seen Paolo. Oh.
And one little trick I found is, you know how like the ears overlap, but there's no negative space between them, but they're in essence what we know to be two different, body parts. What you could do is, without cutting an entire negative space, you can just cut into that space between where the ears should be, that curvature, and then not cut the piece out, but essentially by just cutting in a little bit, you're essentially creating that little gap between the two ears, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think I made like a very slim bunny. Oops.
This big ear.
Huh?
Big ear.
Yeah, big ears.
Mm.
Okay. So a little bit more about Matisse as you guys finish up your bunnies. He said cutouts is basically a visual language. You stamp your identity in a profound way by doing cutouts. We talked a bit about like how the impediment could enable you to do things in a refreshing way. He talked a lot about play being very important to his work. So playing with the composition, moving the shapes around, maybe creating replicas of same shapes like squares or triangles, and then putting them together to create a flower or a mural. He said, relax and enjoy the process. Don't focus on the results. And in essence, when you lessen the control aspect of it, it helps you enjoy the entire process more by lowering the control. Let go, he said. Let it go. Yeah. How are we doing? Any bunnies? Oh my gosh, that's so cute. I like that, Serena. And I like the colors too. Oh, look at that bunny. Oh my gosh, so many bunnies. Oh, Adele, that magazine paper is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, very Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, definitely.
It is.
It's like a tile floor.
All right, I'm gonna move to the next slide, and then you guys can always finish up if you're still working on it, which is fine. All right, we're gonna try one of my favorite flowers, a poppy. I wouldn't try to do all of this poppy. I would just focus on one thing. So like either do the flower, like the bud flower part, or like the fully bloomed flower part, or just like the bud next to it, like the one that's starting to open, or just like one leaf of the flower itself, like one like little leaf. Or you might end up just doing 4 strips of green. Yeah, whatever appeals to you. I'll give you 2 minutes. Oh, by the way, since poppies came up, I'm going to be hosting one more or another session. I've been doing it every 2 weeks. So on August 8th, I'll be hosting a session. We're going to try to recreate Monet's Red Poppy Field. So that's on Eventbrite if you guys want to join that one. I was thinking maybe we could use one of the spirals we did as the middle piece for it. Oh, and do you guys see how the red poppy petals have some darker shades of red? If you want to, you can keep it just the red unified color. What you could also do is like cut strips of dark red and then put those into like on top of the petals and glue those on to show like the dimensions of the petals themselves. Really up to you how abstract or simple or how complex you want to do it for your own, expressive needs.
I like seeing the flower and cutting as I'm looking at the flower because it makes like for a more realistic flower shape.
Yeah. All right. Because of time, I'm just gonna keep moving to the next one. All right, so this is Matisse's work called The Fall of Icarus. As you can see, he doesn't really care about like the elbow or the hand or even the fingers, but he's still able to convey feeling through this work. So, and so that's why, in essence, like, it's almost like we need to untrain ourselves or unlearn in order to embody this abstract form. So he doesn't even have a neck here, which is fine, because it's still, the emotion of this still comes through, and the simplification of it is what's so beautiful about this. And it almost seems like this like spiky heart. It's like a spiky heart. So feel free to play with that on top of this. We saw some of these like yellow star type things before. So what I would ask you to do is to try either like an abstract star, and that means you're just cutting like triangular shapes, no thought about it. And then if you're willing and able, try this abstract human. Just look at the outline and like follow it. And you might add your own little twist to it, which is fine. Maybe the arms down, not up, I don't know. The waist comes in and then it goes out. Oh, and I forgot to mention, he used a lot of cardboard as the back of his base for the collages. And then he would use pins. So if you look at the piece here, he would use actual pins to affix the collages. And then he would unpin stuff and repin stuff. And he would say, even the holes made from the pins, it's fine. It's part of the whole composition. And what others might see as messiness, he considered it's like all part of the unified thing. So if you want to, you could even use pins. I've just been using a glue stick or like masking tape or double-sided tape. So my guy has a green heart. Where did that? Or maybe it's a tooth. He has one tooth. or he has a belly button. I'm gonna move to the next one, if it's okay, because I want to make sure we can cover everything. So this one is blue nude in the hair. Oh, sorry, blue nude with hair in the wind. we don't have to do this one right now. You can come back and do it just for the sake of time. But what I want you to notice is look at the movement that he captures in essence with this piece. It's like a dancer, like she's like floating up and jumping and throwing her arms back, and it looks like she has a ponytail, and like her back is like arched back. I find, you know, these blue nudes to be fabulous. Like, I love these. So we're gonna do our own dancers. So I'm fascinated with like ballet russe and like the early 1900 like ballerinas. Yeah, I picked two here. I found it on the New York Public Library, and I think you guys can pick either one and do it for 2 minutes, do a cutout for 2 minutes. So just quick tips here, just follow the outline as before. And then you can choose to add definition in the legs. Like this woman has a full skirt on, but you may want to just do legs. It's up to you. This woman is also kind of like a fairy. So what you could potentially do is either have her be part of your entire piece in one go and cutting out some negative space here, or you can just follow the outline of her body and then affix like two little heart shapes like we did with the seaweed to the actual cutout later. So it's up to you. Or you may not want these fairy wings. A little bit about this one, if you end up choosing this one, it's up to you if you want to include the dress outline or just like follow the leg line. And then there's probably some negative space here around the head within here that you need to cut out. And you can do that by either like, you know, cutting in between the fingers here and then cutting out like a half oval here and a half oval here around the head and the neck. Whatever, you know, you feel like you can do with your scissors. So I think I'm gonna try the right hand one. Another idea is if you like the belt on the right hand side one, you can create a strip for the belt in a different color, embellish it with like shapes or something. And her hands are beautiful, but I'm not really gonna do all the definition in the hands, just to keep with the abstractness of it. So you can exaggerate the forms here, like you can make the arms bigger, the thighs bigger or thinner, whatever, you know, you feel like doing to express it.
There's mine.
Yay! I love it.
Looks like a Teletubby.
I love how you did the one go, the negative space above her head in one go.
Yeah, I just folded it.
Okay.
Scissor in.
Okay.
Cool.
Look.
Oh, you did a headband. Awesome. I'm
Yeah.
glad you figured that detail out. I didn't even notice it until you showed me.
Sorry.
Nom, 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 nom.
Okay, that's enough.
I don't know. Mine's got a weird neck, but it's fine. Mine's an alien dancer. I'm going to move on. Okay, so we got Fred Astaire. Pick one Fred Astaire. He's so light on his feet. I ran out of arm space, so he has one arm, so I'm gonna affix a different piece. All right, I'm gonna move on to the next one. Here's a swimming pool again. And we're gonna do our own diver. Pick one if you like. Like it could be like diving in, it could be swimming, it could be somersaulting into the water, doing a back kick. Is that? Yeah. Oh, diving in like this. I think this was also an early 1900s piece. All right. This next one is, I'm just going to show this to you, is from his book of cutouts called Jazz. And I think originally he was supposed to name it Circus, as you can see from like one of the pages in the book. So you can even do cutouts with like letters. I was thinking like I Love New York would be a great like abstract cutout, you know, like the heart in like a rough heart shape and the NY letters stuff, using that kind of stuff. As you can see, a lot of movement using abstraction here. And I think this is our last one. It's a early circus poster. So one more cutout if you're feeling it, or you can go ahead and start doing your collage. But yeah, I got this one off of Etsy. I just found it to be beautiful. I was like, oh, I love this one. And you can even do like, if you feel like doing like the apparatus as well, you could do like strips of color for like the ropes.
Goodbye.
I'm gonna head out.
All right, thanks for joining. Have fun.
Yeah, thanks. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This makes you have much more appreciation for Matisse and how he composed and created this new, or popularized this type of art form.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and he was like so radical at the time. Like, I think, it takes courage for him to be like that too. Like, because I think I read that initially when he like debuted some of his cutouts, there was some ridicule from among some of the critics, that it looked elementary or something like that. There's always the various critics out there, but then I think overall, though, there's been a lot of appreciation for it, like, because it's just such a refreshing way. One other thing that would interest you, Linda, is his family was from textile, I think, industry, and so, or tailoring. So he was very familiar with like textiles and such, and it kind of comes through in his work. Like, you know, that flatness, like the different patterns, like
Pattern, for sure.
Yeah.
It also makes me think maybe like designers such as Mariko, like her flower prints too.
Oh, yeah. I saw Uniqlo having some of her stuff on their shirts and stuff. Yeah. It was like last year or something like that. Yeah, it was like very graphical, right? Like graphic, like patterns.
Yeah, I was lucky to see the Matisse exhibit in the paper cutouts in MoMA a few years ago. They opened the museum till like midnight so that people can come in and view the paper cutouts in person. It's actually pretty phenomenal. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I have yet to actually see it in person. Like, was it like huge and like
ceiling to floor, large scale paper cutout works. It was really, really awesome to see. Like, we have to go to Nice and go to that place. So yeah.
Okay, let's pinky promise now. Yay. We gotta go. I want to go to Provence too.
Oh, yeah. S'il vous plaît.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it. Thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate it.